Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Million Dollar Body Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Nate, and today we're talking about 10 ways to make an exercise harder, even if all you have is your body weight, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is body weight exercises. There's nearly an unlimited way of doing these, especially if you have something small at home, like a suspension trainer, some bands, a chair, a step. Like there's a lot of different ways you can move your body through space and get some good results. Body weight exercises are awesome. So if you're like, man, I don't have a gym, I'm not going to get any results. Don't think like that. That's not true at all. Instead, start thinking about the fact that by moving your body through space, by training your body to get up, get down, get on the floor, get back up, there's a lot of positive benefits, including all those that we're talking about are closed chain exercises, which is a fancy way of saying these exercises teach your body to move itself through space, which is going to help you recruit more muscle fibers. So if you load it correctly, you can build a lot of muscle this way. They're also going to help your body reduce the amount of non-functional tissue. So it's going to reduce the amount of fat you have, because you can't be fat and do a lot of pull-ups. You can't be fat and do a muscle up. You can't be fat and do handstand push-ups. Your body just won't allow that. So I find that when my clients or myself do a lot of really high intensity body weight exercises, what happens is that we start seeing great results in terms of getting leaner, getting tighter, feeling like you're like that shrink wrapped feeling, because your body starts to reprogram itself to have more muscle, have less fat, because at the end of the day, your body wants to keep you alive. And if you have too much fat and you are trying to climb a tree to get away from a saber-toothed tiger, to get away from the Tiger King on Netflix, I don't know where you're at right now, then you're probably going to die if you can't get out of the way. So if you're always moving your body through space, it doesn't know that there's a difference between you're running from a predator and you just trying to nail a handstand push-up. So it's going to respond in kind. Okay, so that's the basis. The other thing is that there's some research that just came out of Brazil talking about longevity, how long we have to live. And they said it's very easy to predict based off of one simple test. And that test is sit cross-legged on the ground and then stand up. Now, the score is out of a maximum of 10 points. If you can go from cross-legged to standing without touching the ground at all, that's 10 points. If you put a hand down, that's -1. You put a knee down, that's -2. You put a toe down, that's -3. Any extra point of contact you create, you subtract points. And they discovered that the lower that score is, the shorter time left you have on this earth. So moving your body through space is pretty fucking important. Okay, so make sure that you are thinking about this from not just a physical fitness, but also longevity. How long do you want to be hanging out playing with your kids, with your grandkids? If you can't get up off the ground, you're not long for this earth. Okay, so make sure this is a priority for you. And then if you have the time, if this is something that you want to be doing either right now or at some point in the future, here are some great ways you can progress from basic bodyweight exercises, your push-ups, your squats, your lunges, those sorts of things, and make them more impactful. So if you're used to going to the gym, if the gym is a part of your routine and now you've kind of gotten thrust back into a bodyweight program, you're at home, and you're like, man, this is just easy. I've got to do 100 reps of squats for it to start getting hard. Listen closely, because I think I'm going to give you some really good stuff here. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is increasing the range of motion. Okay, number one is increasing your range of motion. So essentially, let's talk about this in terms of a push-up or a lunge, okay? So if you're regularly doing push-ups on the ground, you're already going down, touching your chest, and you're coming back up, and you're like, that's good. I can do 20 of those, no problem. Consider putting your hands on two chairs and going down a little bit farther, increasing the range of motion, so you're getting yourself a little bit closer to like a complete full range of motion through the shoulders, and that's going to really increase the difficulty of that exercise. Similarly, a lunge, you're stepping back in place, touching your knee down to the floor, and that's the end range of motion for you. Instead, think about putting one foot up on a step and the other foot up on a stool or a bench, and then dropping your knee down below that level of where your feet are. So you're going to get a lot more out of that movement by just increasing how far you're moving. Okay, and so all my tall people, all my long-limbed lifters know this for a fact, that when you watch someone who's got short arms and they're doing pull-ups, and they're like, made them look so easy, and then you go to do the pull-up and you're like, man, I got 3 feet to pull myself up for just a single rep. You know that even though you did a pull-up and they did a pull-up, you've actually done more work, because work is technically force over distance, or mass over distance. So either way, the more distance you can get out of the single exercise, the better results you're going to get, the harder it's going to be, the more work you can put in. Okay, so this is an easy way to progress your Bulgarian split squats, your push-ups, and pull-ups, different things like that. Especially, it's a good reminder to always be using the maximum range of motion we have available. So if you are doing pull-ups and you're doing them right here, just kind of go into that halfway point with your arms, stop doing that immediately, because what's going to happen is your body's going to start training to only be strong in that range of motion. So when you have to reach something off the top shelf, you have to reach back and use a full range of motion. Your body's not going to have the strength there. The tendons and ligaments are not going to have the ability to get into that position safely, and you will injure yourself, and then everyone will laugh. Okay. The second one is I know I said this is, you could do this with body weight or whatever, but simply just adding more weight. This is what most gym lifters do when trying to improve or progress, is just add more weight to the bar. Most of the time, though, people think more weight, I should do this with incredibly poor form, and that's not what we want at all. Okay, so if you more weight is good. That's the second way of making an exercise harder. So if you're just out here doing some like side band raises or using something light, add a soup can to each hand. Add a little bit of weight via some chains or something else that you have just laying around. I don't know if you have chains laying around, maybe. But either way, adding more weight is obviously a way of progressing the exercise. The third way is increase the quality of each repetition. So if you're doing reps and you're just going as fast as you possibly can and banging them out, and you're at the end, you're like, man, those squats made my back feel kind of like a car accident, then that's probably not what we're looking for. So instead, what we can do is we can slow those reps down, make sure that you're feeling it wherever you're working. So if you should be feeling your squats in your legs and glutes. If you're doing push-ups, you should be feeling them in your arms and chest and not all in your shoulder joint. If you're doing pull-ups, you shouldn't feel them all in your biceps, but you should feel some in your back. So making sure that whatever you're working, whatever muscle group that is that you're working, you're actually feeling it. So we're increasing the quality of your rep. We're increasing your mind-muscle connection during that. And when you increase your mind-muscle connection, and I find this specifically for my clients with the back of the body, their upper back, their lower back, their glutes, their hamstrings, their calves, when you increase the mind-muscle connection there, you start getting results a lot faster, because just because you can't see it in the mirror doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or is not important at the beach, okay? Guys, that's a tip for you. So make sure that you're not the guy walking around with a big chest and no back and no legs because you couldn't, quote unquote, feel it, all right? So one way to easily increase that mind-muscle connection is our fourth tip. How to make these exercises harder is add an isometric, okay? Add a pause. So what this looks like is on a push-up, we're going down, we're pausing in place, we're holding right here. And what's great about this is that when you pause in the bottom position of any exercise, a squat, a lunge, a push-up, a pull-up would be the top, but you're forced to, we call it, own the position. So you go down to, a lot of us just do a squat, drop down, come right back up. We never spend any time at the bottom, and then we wonder why, wow, it doesn't feel stable. My hips rock side to side. I have these issues. But it's because you haven't spent any time down there. When you spend time at the bottom of a push-up, at the bottom of a squat, at the top of a pull-up, you start to feel very quickly what muscle groups are active, what's burning, what's hurting, how, and then you start thinking, when can I be done with this? So this is a really easy way to, number one, increase the difficulty of your exercises, but also get better at your exercises. Get better at doing your push-ups. Get better at getting more out of those push-ups, those pull-ups, those squats, those lunges. So simply adding a pause. My favorite is adding like a 4-second pause at the bottom. That forces you to be very controlled, not be sloppy, increase your mind-muscle connection, get better in that position, and you'll actually start, if you've never done it before, you'll feel it the next day for sure. It's a great way to build muscle too, by just forcing those muscles to highly activate during that time. So that's number 4, is adding that isometric, adding the pause, okay? Number 5, shrink your base of support. Okay, so obviously if you're doing a squat and you go a really wide stance, that's going to be a little bit easier than taking yourself and going a little bit more narrow stance. This could also be going from a double leg exercise to a single leg exercise. It's going to be much easier to do a squat with the barbell than it is going to be to do a lunge with the barbell, or a Bulgarian split squat, or a pistol, or anything along those lines. So by decreasing your base of support, you're actually decreasing your stability, and you're causing more muscles to have to work harder to keep you upright, keep you in place, okay? So just making sure that when you are decreasing the base of support, you're not doing it to the point where now you're only training your balance. We want to be able to train stability, and you want to be able to do exercises that are not just like balancing on your tiptoes, walking across a 2x4, but thinking about just going a little bit more narrow. You'll find that if you take your hands out wide in a push-up, it's pretty easy. You have a pretty wide base of support with your feet, or if you're doing like one of my favorite exercises to warm up the core and the shoulders, the plank shoulder tap. So in a push-up position, coming up and touching your shoulders, If you feel like you're rocking side to side on an exercise like that, bringing your feet wider is going to make that easier, increase the stability. Bringing your feet really narrow, almost making them touch, it's going to make that much harder to keep yourself from rocking because it forces the core to work super hard. So just decrease the base of support, increase the stability aspect a little bit. Okay. Number six, I'm pretty sure it's six. Increase the center or raise the center of mass. So this applies a lot to external loads. So if you have a dumbbell, a barbell, a kettlebell, soup cans, paint cans, 5-gallon buckets of water, your little brother or sister, I don't know what you have at your house, but raising the center of mass is essentially like a great example of this would be going from a dumbbell lunge where the dumbbells are by your side. Typically when the center of mass and you're adding, if you're adding the weight, is going to be down low, like closer to your lower body, your hips, taking that up and going onto your back, going onto your front, going overhead with that. Raising your center of mass up is going to increase the amount of stability front to back you need in your core to maintain that load. That's basically just a fancy way of saying your abs are going to get smoked if you do it like this. Okay, so obviously an easy way to do this would be if you're doing like a lunge or a squat with the dumbbells by your side, raise them up to your shoulders. You want to go even harder, raise them above your head. You're going to really feel the difference there, just because you're forcing your front to back to make sure that you're controlled. So one key on anything like that, especially if you're going overhead, is make sure that someone could come up and punch you in the stomach and you'd be unaffected because you're so tight. So always hold that tension. And then the harder the exercise, the more you want to make sure that you are punchable in that situation. Okay. So number 7, again, we're going to be talking about load here, but this is a good one for those of us who are working out at home and maybe don't have any weights or have like a set of old 5-pound weights that our mom gave us because she found them at a garage sale and we haven't gotten rid of them because we've been using them as a door stopper. I don't know, maybe using a fruitcake. I don't know what you have, but let me know below. Let me know what your weights are if you do have some. But basically moving the center of the mass further from the axis of rotation. And that sounds confusing. It's not. Basically what that means is taking it from like being a chest, like a weight that you hold at your chest, like a kettlebell, goblet squat, or something along those lines, and simply moving it out farther in front of you. Now, you don't have to have your arms all the way extended, but that's the idea. It's basically going from something grasped at your chest and held tight to your body to being extended out in front of you. Because when you do that, the muscles that are supporting the upper body or lower body are going to have to work a ton harder to balance out. So obviously if you're pushing forward like this, your instinct is going to be to lean way back on it and hold that up with your spine. But if you take that pressure off your spine, you're going to really have to work super hard with your abs and the muscles of your low back, the spinal erectors, to maintain that load. So it's a great way to take 5-pound weights, 8-pound weights, and make them feel a ton heavier because you're now taking them outside of your body, moving them outside of the axis of rotation and farther away from your body. So the non-pretentious way of saying that would just be hold the weights away from you and they get heavier. Okay. Now I want to talk about number 8, making unstable surface training. So I personally really don't like unstable surface training. And it's not because it's not useful. It's just because it gets bastardized and overused in gyms by trainers who want to make their clients feel like they're doing something fancy. So they have them doing kettlebell swings while one arm on a ball, while kicking the leg out and taking their pants off and touching their nose at the same time. So doing fancy exercises on Bosu balls, balancing on those wobble discs, doing other things like that, where largely, if you look at some of the research that's come out, and I can post this if you're curious, is that unstable surface training is largely not functional for most lower body exercises. Say it again. Doing your squats, bench presses, curls, balance on a BOSU ball, on a wobble board, on those discs for your lower body is not functional, is not a good idea. It does not burn more calories. It does not force you to use your stabilizer muscles. It's not going to give you the results you're looking for because of a couple of reasons. Number one, you're probably forced to use less weight. So when you're trying to train your biceps, but you're doing it on a BOSU ball for some reason, you're really not getting the benefit of either thing. You're not getting the benefit of the BOSU ball, and you're not getting the benefit of the bicep curls. Switch them out, because the best thing you can possibly do for your lower body unstable surface training is work on your ankle mobility and work on the stabilizer muscles of your ankles. That's a great use of that training. Another great use of unstable surface training is for the shoulders and the shoulder girdle. So doing your push-ups on the BOSU ball, doing anything where you're having to maintain tension and keep yourself strong, like trying to shift back and forth. Another good reason why we like the TRX push-ups, because you get that shift a little bit. It forces the stabilizer muscles of the shoulders to engage, which is going to a lot of times put your shoulder in a safer position because you're getting more muscular adaptations and more muscular activation around the joint. So it keeps it all safe. So that's a good option for you. So lower body, standing on it to do curls, don't do that. Upper body, putting your hands on it to do push-ups, that's one of my favorite ways of using that. That's going to be a great way of enhancing your shoulder. We call it proprioception, and deloading some of those joints without necessarily losing out on gaining some of that muscle. So I like a kind of a wobble board for the push-ups, TRX push-ups, things like that, but you don't need unstable surface training on your lower body. The best example of the unstable surface training is going to be simply just doing a one-legged exercise, because like we talked about earlier, we're decreasing your base of support. You're going from 2 legs to 1 leg. That's a lot more functional because you spend a lot more time on 1 leg, either walking or running, than we ever do balancing in an earthquake, seeing how many plates we can stack on our finger while we do a curl with a kettlebell at the same time. It's just stupid. Don't do it. So that's my TED talk for today. Number 8, an easy way to increase the difficulty of a given exercise is add a plyometric element to it. Add a jump, add a pulse. So that doesn't mean you have to be on the ground doing Rocky style explosive clapping push-ups, but it does mean you can do them on a bench. It means you can do them off of some steps. It means you can, instead of doing just a squat, do a jump squat. Instead of doing the lunge, do a jump lunge. I think single leg exercises are a great way of doing this if you have the strength and stability already built up. So doing a Bulgarian split squat, if you don't have any weights, adding a jump component to it is going to make you have to fire harder on the jump and then land quietly by engaging all the muscles of the foot, ankle, and lower leg complex to catch yourself without slamming yourself into the ground. So you get both aspects of that, the push and the release, the catch. And that's going to help you just become a more athletic, stronger, better looking person. So when the zombies do come, you're going to have the ability to get away from them and, jump fences, do the important things, right? So adding in a plyometric element is a great way to beef up or improve a body weight or any other type of workout. I do like it for the single leg version though. Number 9. Number 9 is tempo. One way we can make exercises harder is by slowing down. So I know we talked about the isometrics, but basically lowering to a slower count. So if you would normally do push-ups that you could do 10 in 10 seconds, now try doing a push-up, a pull-up, or a squat where you're actually lowering down to about 4 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds. You want to get crazy? Try a 30-second rep. It's an ultimate test of mental fortitude and also not getting really, really bored. So that's one easy way. The caveat there is that if you are using weights, if you're doing a bench press and you're now going from a regular bench press tempo to a 10-second negative bench press tempo, you're going to have to use less weight. Okay, so what ends up happening is that yes, it's maybe more challenging mentally, especially if you've never done it before. But in terms of the overall challengingness of the set, it'll be about the same because the weight is lighter, but the reps are slower. So you've kind of switched one for the other. So this is a really great way of increasing the difficulty of body weight training, especially. So going from doing a set of 10 push-ups regular to doing a set of 10 push-ups with a 4-second negative or eccentric is a completely different animal. And if you don't believe me, try that right now. I know the C10, do 10, tag 10 push-up challenges going around on Instagram right now. Now try doing yours to a 4-second negative. Not only will no one watch it because that's 40 seconds of push-ups, boring, but you'll also be smoked by the end of it, even if you are strong. So try that out. It's a really great tip. The last tip, number 10, is use asymmetric loading. So use loads that are not evenly distributed. So this can be a really good one depending on what your home gym setup is like. If you have you have a kettlebell that's 15 pounds and a kettlebell that's 35 pounds, that's great. Do your squats with them like that, where you're forced to focus on one side and holding tighter rather than just doing the exact same weights in both hands. Obviously, we want to switch so you're not creating imbalances long term, but this is a great way to do stuff even with you just have one kettlebell, just one jug of water, or if you're just looking to improve your general fitness level in the gym. Doing a suitcase deadlift, which is coming down, picking up one side and standing back up, holding the barbell at one side, is an awesome way to challenge not only your deadlift strength, but also your lateral strength, the core strength on your obliques. And what's important about this is that we do a lot of asymmetrical loading in our daily life, between carrying a purse. I don't know if you carry a purse, maybe. I do. I love it. It's great. You don't put anything in your pockets anymore. My legs are too big for that. Carrying a suitcase, carrying stuff around for if you're doing home projects, any of those are going to require some sort of asymmetric loading. So it's great to train that in the gym because it's going to give us more abilities, which is why we want to train in the first place, to be able, to be strong, to be more abilities to do stuff. And that's going to give us the abilities to do it without getting injured. So those are the 10 ways that you can improve your exercises, make them harder, and just 10 easy tools that can make it easier to get challenging workouts no matter where you are, no matter what environment you're in, no matter if you're at home or if you are stuck somewhere, if you only have your body weight, if you only have a type of equipment at home. So if you want any more information about this, make sure you go to n8trainingsystems.com/group, join the $1 Million Body community, and I'm hooking up free at-home workouts that take advantage of these principles, okay? So it's the best at-home workout that you have not seen on Facebook yet, and I hesitate to even promote it because I know there's a billion out there. So if you want that could be helpful for you, make sure you go to the $1 Million Body community, n8trainingsystems.com/group, and I can set you up with that there. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to always be a resource. And then make sure you definitely subscribe. Subscribe to the show. Subscribe to the things. Smash that subscribe and like button. Come on. All right. Hope you guys are having a great day. Stay safe out there. Be well. I'll talk to you soon.